Welcome, Greek U Nation, to episode number 247 of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Eilon, CEO of Greek University. I'm a speaker and a two-time author. Go and check out our second book. It's called From Letters to Leaders, Redefining New Member Education and Leveraging Belonging to Eliminate Hazing. That is available on Amazon right now. We call these episodes the Fraternity Foodie Podcast because there's nothing like great food to bring college students together. Fun fact, I often teach alumni engagement in the world of fraternity and sorority, but don't forget to engage all the parents of your members as well. With parent engagement, students are more likely to earn higher grades, stay in school, graduate from college, get financial support, get volunteers for big chapter projects, and get needed chapter expertise in areas that are outside of the scope of the students. This is a gold mine for your chapter when it's done right. So start thinking about ways to engage the parents of your members, and then you'll take your chapter to the next level. Speaking of parents, our next guest is Shelly Slocum. She is the proud mom of two beautiful daughters who are married to her wonderful son-in-laws. She's also known as Mimi to three precious grandchildren and one angel baby, and she's the wife of her high school sweetheart for 39 years. Absolutely amazing. Life has not been without its challenges for Shelly, but she is very grateful for every day that God blesses her with another opportunity to continue improving herself and doing whatever she can to make the lives of others a little bit brighter. Shelly's book, it's called Love and Inspiration from Mom, is an expanded quote book with inspirational quotes and practical tips from a loving mom on how to apply more positivity in your life to brighten your days and help turn life's lemons into lemonade. Welcome to the show, Shelly.
Thank you, Mike. It is an honor to be here.
Fantastic. I love having you on. You know, lots of times we interview speakers in the industry. We interview administrators, we interview students, but it's not every day that we get a chance to talk to a mom, a dad, just to get that other perspective. And I think it's just so important. So I'm so happy that you're on the show today. But you know what? Let's go back, of course. Let's go back a little while. You started out at Point Loma Nazarene University. So I'm just wondering, I mean, I'm sitting here scratching my head. I'm like, what made you choose that institution for your undergraduate experience?
Well, interesting. And this is going back a long way, Mike. I started at the University of Denver.
Okay.
And I went for 2 years to the university, to DU, as it's called. And I was in love with a sailor. Literally, he was in the United States Navy, and we started dating when I was in high school, and I went my first 2 years of college, and we wanted to get married. And he asked my parents if he could ask for my hand in marriage, and they said that we could get married as long as I promised to finish college. So we got married at the end of my sophomore year, and I moved to San Diego with him. And, University of Denver was a little bit smaller university. Mm-hmm. And my choices in San Diego were San Diego State, which seemed like a wonderful choice, but it was huge. Mm-hmm. And I was used to a little bit smaller classes. So Point Loma, at the time, it was called Point Loma College. And so I selected that because it was smaller classes, and I just knew my learning style. I knew that I was much better with being able to have one-on-one conversation, ask questions to my professors. And amazingly, when I graduated, I am still friends with the director of the athletic training program from Point Loma Nazarene College. So, it really was an amazing experience for me.
That's great. It worked out really well for you, and you just knew your learning style. Going to San Diego State, I'm sure you would have had fun, but that university is just huge. I mean, it's easy to get lost in the shuffle. And you know what? I know what you're talking about. I went to a school with 30,000 students at the University of Buffalo, And the first semester, you're just like overload. You're like, I don't even know where to begin. 30,000 students is just overwhelming. And so, finding your spot, your niche in that 30,000 can be challenging for some students. And so I
Right.
totally get it. I
Well,
mean,
and that's why the Greek system in the universities is a really good option, because it helps scale things down a bit so
yes.
that you have that closeness with a small group. And I had that in my classroom, but at a larger university, you really do need to find a place where you fit in.
Yeah, that was my exact experience. Once I found the fraternity and it was scalable, it was manageable, with 60, 70 guys. I'm like, all right, I can figure this out. But
Right.
30,000, I'm like, I don't even know where to begin. It's just like you're just drinking from a fire hose. I mean, you can't do it. It's just
Yes.
impossible. But
Right.
anyway, but you know what? I want to talk about your book. You're the author of this brand new book. It's called Love and Inspiration from Mom. So I'm just really curious, what made you want to write this particular book?
Well, you know what? It came from a struggle, Mike. My oldest daughter, she lived through a torturous experience. And, you were talking to me a little bit about hazing before, and it had something to do with that. And it was a real challenge. And she had a breakdown as a result. And she was already an adult and working, and I dropped everything in my world and moved to where she lived and literally helped her get out of bed for weeks. And I loved her back to health. And when she was strong enough to go back to work, I would send her an inspirational quote every morning, and I would give her a couple of tips on how she could apply it in her day that day. And then I ended with "Love, Mom." And I did that every day for a few months. And, she got better and stronger and more optimistic. And soon she was better than she was before. And, after that experience, she said, "Mom, you need to put this in a book so that you can help other people who are going through a struggle that might not have somebody that could drop everything in their world and, move to where they lived." So fast forward 5 years later, I was busy working in real estate, and I ended up being diagnosed with non-smoking lung cancer 1 year ago. And it was almost as if God put it on my heart. He said, "All right, Shelly, now you have time. You're going to be healing. Now it's time to put your book out." So that it's kind of been an inspirational journey for me this past year as I've been healing so that I can get this book out to the world.
That's a fantastic story. I mean, what did you think that moment that you got that diagnosis? I mean, were you like, what was in your head when you heard that from the doctor?
Well, I had no idea because I had never been a smoker. So, lung cancer was never on my radar. Not that cancer ever is for anyone, but I just happened to have had a kidney stone. And in this CT scan for the kidney stone, they happened to see this nodule in my lung. And that was right before COVID. So they just said, "Don't worry, it might be nothing. Just follow up with, a CT scan." Well, then, in the midst of COVID, nobody was doing all those scans. So a year and 3 months later, I went and got the scan, and they said, "Oh my gosh, it's grown and we think it's cancer."
Wow.
So it was hard. It was really hard. I was like, "Lung cancer, how could that be?" But thankfully for the kidney stone, we caught it very early, and they were able to, this sounds awful, but they removed the lower half of my left lung, and it said that it was encapsulated. And so they said that the surgery was curative. So thank goodness I'm, 1 year cancer free.
Wow, that is a wonderful ending to that story. And man, oh man, I mean, I just can't imagine how scary that would be to hear that from a doctor. I mean, it's just awful, just awful. So the other thing that really kind of interests me, you mentioned with your daughter that you were kind of loving her back to health. So
Mhm.
what is this ICE method that you talk about of loving someone back to health?
Well, you think about ice when you're injured, right? You put
Mhm.
ice on an injury. And I'm just one of those people that loves to do acronyms because, even back when I was studying, I made acronyms to help me remember things.
Mhm.
And so this ICE method it's something you can use to help you remember. The I is help the person feel important, right? So many times when someone's going through a struggle, they feel all alone. And, if it's a friend or a family member, make sure that you're checking in with them, making them feel like they're important in your world. The C is taking good care of them. Whether it is making sure they're getting good, healthy meals, whether you're making sure that they're getting outside, getting fresh air. There's things that you can do to make someone feel cared for. And then the E is one of the most important, and that's encouraging and empowering them to get better. Because, I was told a long time ago about, a pity party. I had a little bit of a pity party when I found out that I had cancer.
Mhm.
And, someone told me a long time ago, it's okay to dip your toe in the pity pool, but it's not okay to get in and swim.
Mhm.
And, I realized that I didn't want to be swimming the rest of my life in a pity pool. So I did whatever I could every day to make my life happier and better in the midst of the struggle.
Hmm. Wow, that's really powerful. And, one of the things that it brings me to is we have college students who are listening right now that really struggle with self-confidence. And so I'm wondering, how can you build self-confidence in something, as small as just brushing your teeth twice a day in that amount of time? How can you build self-confidence?
It seems like a silly little thing, but you think about it, most people brush their teeth twice a day, right? So
Mhm.
in the morning and at night, some people more often, but I just learned a long time ago that for whatever reason, when we're looking at ourselves in the mirror, we're the hardest on each other, on ourselves when we're staring at ourselves in the mirror. We're picking apart, our hair. Oh, my hair looks bad. My weight, my face, my wrinkles. You guys don't, the young kids don't have wrinkles, but I do. And I realized that time, instead of beating myself up, I could build myself up twice a day. So I made it a pact with myself that when I was brushing my teeth, the only thing I could tell myself was nice things. Oh, Shelly, your hair looks good today. It feels weird. I'm telling you, it feels weird, but the more and you don't have to say it out loud, especially if you have a roommate, you're saying this in your head and you're just commenting on things that you like about yourself. And if you're not quite there yet, just don't talk at all, right? Don't say something mean to yourself. Instead, be in silence until you can start finding those things that are positive and build on that every day. And then you've got twice a day, you're telling yourself really positive things. It is amazing what it does to your confidence, your self-esteem, just your love and care for yourself that translates to others.
Yeah, those affirmations, I think they go a long way. I think that's fantastic. I also think about how privileged we are as college students to be at a higher institution. Not everybody gets the opportunity to go to college in life.
Right.
And I think about, some of these colleges that are not exactly in the greatest of towns. There's a lot of cities out there where there's a college, but you know what? There's also a lot of people in town that are struggling, that don't know where to get food, for the
Right.
day. And so, maybe just, counting your blessings and saying what you're thankful for. I'm thankful for running water in my bathroom today. The small things. I mean, certainly we can look at what's happening around the world and basically say, you know what, there are people that are right now living in a war zone, literally with no running water and no
Right.
food. So, I think, even just talking about what we're thankful for is could go a long way as well. But I love that while you're brushing your teeth, that's a great time to do it. We all do it twice a day. It's, maybe 2 or 3 minutes long. So it's like that
Right.
perfect time that allows us to knock it out. And so
Right.
I love that. That's really great.
And Brene Brown, one of her quotes is, we say things to ourselves that we would never say to someone else.
Right.
And so it's like, I catch myself when I'm in my self-talk, when I'm not brushing my teeth, because, that's the time when you're absolutely saying positive things. But other times during the day, when you catch yourself saying something to your, in your brain, just stop yourself and say, is this friend or foe? And if it is a friendly thing, okay, proceed. If it is an adversary that's, bringing you down, stop talking. Just stop talking and try to change your mindset.
Yeah. Now, one of the other things that I think about with college students today is Gen Z is usually very close to their parents. Many college students today, Gen Z, are in touch with their parents at least once a day. I know many college students right now that are talking to their parents 2 or 3 times a day. But if for some reason that relationship is strained, and there could be a whole variety of reasons why that might happen, but do you have any tips on how college students can strengthen the relationship with their parents while they're away at school?
Well, one of the things that, I had with my kids, and, I fortunately had a close relationship with my girls, but to the point where when they went away to college, they wanted to come home, and I would be like, nope, nope, you have to stay. And I made them stay for the first 30 days. They could not come home because I wanted them to establish those friendships when everybody's in the same boat in those first 30 days.
Mhm.
So, but I would say, one of the best things that you can do for your parents, we were already talking a little bit about gratitude, but just you be the one that initiates the phone call. Sometimes, if it's your parents that are calling to check in on you, you be the one that initiates the phone call. And in that phone call, let them know something that you appreciate about them. Even if it's a strained relationship, a little bit of gratitude goes a long way. And when you are, starting the ball rolling, it just builds momentum. Kind of like the snowball, right? You start
Mhm.
small and it rolls and it gets bigger. And I just think that's a really great way to build the bond with your parents, is find a little something that you're grateful for that that they're currently doing or that they did in the past.
That's fantastic. Well, I'm going to play that answer for my kids so that way when they go away to college, they remember to do that. I think that is phenomenal. The other thing you talk about too is something that you call Shelly-Anna thinking. What in the world does that mean as it relates to reality and optimism?
Well, I don't know if all the, your audience has heard but there used to be a saying called Pollyanna thinking. And it was somebody that was, just had a kind of a pie in the sky, always optimistic. And it's funny because my husband has said that to me a lot, because I do trainings and seminars, and I go to all these things to help make myself be a better person so that I can handle the struggles in life. And sometimes my husband says to me, Shelly, you just have Pollyanna thinking. And I always, I stop him and say, no, I don't have Pollyanna thinking. I have Shelly-Anna thinking, which is where reality and optimism meet. And I think part of the problem with Pollyanna is just not really facing what's really going on in reality right now. It's just looking at all of the optimism. So I have a little sentence that helps you shift your thinking from reality to optimism. And it starts with whatever is going on. So I'm going to use my example of being diagnosed with cancer. I had to acknowledge that reality. So what I said to myself is, I wish this wasn't happening. I understand I have cancer. I need to deal with this. I wish it wasn't my reality, but it is. And then I would shift it into, but I'm grateful that we caught it early. I'm grateful that I have a family support and doctors that can help me through this. And I trust that it will get better. And it's the acknowledging reality, shifting your thinking into the gratitude piece, and then moving into the trust and the hope for the future. And I tell you, no matter what you're facing, there are lots of people struggling right now in this world. And if you can use Shelly-Anna thinking, it will really help you shift your mindset.
That's fantastic. I love that tip. There's one other thing that you trust in, and you believe in trusting God and seeking blessings. So I'm wondering, how has that faith in God, seeking blessings all the time, how has that served you well over your entire career and even in your family life?
Well, I grew up in a Christian home. My mom sang in the choir, and my siblings and I played in a handbell choir. And my dad was what they called a creaster, right? He came to church on Christmas and Easter. That was the only time he came. But then I ended up at Point Loma Nazarene College, which was a very wonderful Christian education. And so I've been involved in the Christian life for the majority of my life. And I just have always felt, if you believe there is something bigger than you in charge, right? If, it just helps in life. And so my thing is, I trust in God. If you don't trust, if you're not a Christian, you don't, just trusting that things will get better, right? You just have that trust that you're putting out there. The other thing is, seeking blessings, right? I never really thought about it until my cancer diagnosis, but the first part of seek is see, S-E-E. And it's amazing when you start looking for blessings, you see them. Like in my cancer diagnosis, that was one of the things I thought, every day I'm going to see blessings. I'm going to seek them and I'm going to find them. And it was amazing. I have like a whole long list of all these blessings that happened to me in the midst of the scariest thing of my life. So, it helps you stay optimistic. It helps your mindset and your body stay in a positive light to help you heal and get better.
Yeah. I think that's going to be really helpful to our listeners. It's a lot about resiliency too. And I think it's needed more than ever today during the pandemic and all these other challenges that are kind of being thrown at these college students. Like, here's a pandemic. Let's see if you can clear this bar. And here's this and here's that, and it's like all of these things, now we have obviously the economy, we have inflation, we're worried about jobs. It goes on and on and on, right? We could spend the entire podcast talking about all the challenges that are out there. And so I think it's a lesson on resiliency and trying to figure out, how are we going to change our mindset, look for those blessings as opposed to getting bogged down in some of those challenges. I think it's normal that we have to deal with those challenges and figure out a way around them or over them, or how are we going to get around this obstacle. But you're absolutely right. The amount of blessings that we all have, it's right there in front of us, but we can either focus on all of the challenges and problems, or we can seek the blessings. And so what you're saying is, hey, let's just count all of those blessings, because if you do that, then I think it's going to be a little bit easier to tackle some of those challenges as they come.
Very true. And, and putting control where you have the ability to control, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's so much in the world that's outside of our control.
Right.
And so one of the things that you can control is what you think about, what you do. One of the quotes in my book is, if you don't want something permanently in your brain, in your mindset, be careful what you listen to and watch, because those things subliminally get in your head, and they come back out when you don't want them.
Right.
So.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, maybe we need to cut down a little bit on, maybe the news or, other things that might
Right.
be scary, and instead read a book or maybe go for a walk and be out in nature or something like that, just to change
Right.
that. Because I think you're right. I think even if at the moment you're not really impacted or affected, certainly those images can stay with you for a long time, and it's hard to know
They
when they're going
can.
to resurface, right?
They can.
So yeah, I think that's absolutely right on. That's just spot on. Now we do love good food here at the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I mean, I can't get away from good food. I mean, that's what I seek out all the time. Talk about seeking blessings. I find blessings in
Food.
great food. So I want to know the next time that I'm in your neck of the woods over in Parker, Colorado, where's the best place I can go to get some great food?
Well, my family and I love sushi. We
Okay.
love it. And there is an amazing sushi restaurant in Parker, Colorado, and it's called Jun's, Junz. And we do takeout at least once a week. And it's delicious. And I love food too. Food makes me happy.
Yeah.
And food, it's a great way to bond with others is
Yep.
over food.
Yeah, it's been interesting. I mean, over the pandemic, we just kind of stopped going out, to restaurants and eating as much as we did in the past.
Right.
And just last night, I got together with three friends over dinner, and we just had a fantastic time, just enjoying each other's company. And I remember driving on the way home going, wow, that was a great meal. We had some really great conversation. And boy, was it nice just to enjoy other people's company for a couple of hours. It's like those little things that if you just look back at it and you're like, I really appreciated that. Maybe more so now because it was kind of taken away from us for a while. So
Right.
now when we're living through that and enjoying great conversation and spectacular food, it's just, you sit back and you go, I really miss that. We need to do more of that.
Absolutely. And you know what you're doing right now is laughing, right?
Yeah.
That's another one of the best medicines we can do is laugh. Find humorous books, find humorous shows, find funny friends that you can laugh with. Laughter truly is, you've heard this, but it truly is the very best medicine. So if you're feeling down, if you're feeling sad, find somebody to laugh with.
There you go. I love that. I always try to laugh at myself if I don't have somebody else to laugh with. I'm just laughing at myself going, what am I doing?
Right. And that's, we've lost that, being able to laugh at ourselves and others, in a respectful way, right? We
Sure.
want, funny is funny. And, the thicker skin we can have, the better we'll do in life.
Yeah, I agree with you there. All right. So if our students, if they want to connect with you, maybe for a speaking opportunity, maybe they want to pick up your book, where should they go to connect with you and get that book?
Well, I would love to connect with whoever would, like to connect with me. My book is not quite out within the next week or two, crossing my
Woohoo.
fingers. But my website is spelled out loveandinspiration.org, O-R-G. And there's an opportunity in there where you can sign up to be notified when the book is actually launched and live on Amazon. And also a way for you to just connect with me if you'd like to, if you'd like to talk further. I'd love to connect with your audience.
That's fantastic. All right, Shelly. So to all of our listeners, make sure you go to Shelly's website, sign up to get immediate notification and when that book is available in Amazon. And I want you to go and buy as many copies as you can for you and all your friends,
Right.
because this is sounds like just the perfect type of book that you can just pick up for a quick pick me up. It's not something that you necessarily have to read all the way through, but
Right.
something that you just kind of open when you need it, and you'll be there not only for your daughters but for all her sons and daughters all over the country, which is a
Right.
wonderful thing. I really appreciate everything, Shelly. It's great.
Well, it's been wonderful. And, Jack Canfield, he was co-author of the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. He wrote the foreword for my book. And he said, this book, the world really needs this book right now. And he called it a warm hug in a book.
That is fantastic. I like that a lot. Hey, listen, if he's reviewing your book and he had good things to say, then I think everyone needs to go and pick up this book because you got to respect that guy for what he's done and the
He
stuff that he
has
put
sold
out.
millions of books.
Millions,
So,
millions and millions of copies. So that's fantastic. Well, this
yeah.
has been great. This has been so much fun. To our listening audience, hopefully you enjoyed this conversation with Shelly and a little bit more about the book that's about to come out. Please like this. Please share this interview with other students on campus and other friends that could use that pick-me-up. And we hope to see you on another episode of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. Thanks so much, Shelly. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.